Penelope looks up at the Bridgerton house. Colin turns to her and offers his hand, which she takes. Colin announces their engagement to his family, and Francesca and Hyacinth are thrilled and hug Penelope. Violet is also happy and hugs her. Gregory is upset because he wanted to go to a tavern with Colin before he got married. Everyone notices as Penelope and Eloise exchange a look. Eloise excuses herself and leaves the room. Colin starts to go after her, but Penelope stops him and says let her go. Penelope catches up with Eloise in the hallway. Eloise asks how long Penelope has had feelings for Colin. Eloise asks if Colin knows that Penelope is Lady Whistledown. Penelope says that he doesn't and begs Eloise not to tell him. Eloise says Colin will eventually find out and can't truly love Penelope until he knows the truth. Penelope agrees but wants to tell Colin herself when the time is right. Eloise leaves and Colin asks Penelope what happened. Penelope says Eloise is upset, but Colin reassures her that everything will be fine. Penelope writes a new Whistledown article. The newest issue is distributed. Tilly and Benedict finish having sex and Tilly picks up the latest Whistledown. Benedict is surprised she likes it. Tilly appreciates Whistledown's honesty and suggests Benedict read it. He hands it to him and he reads and his mouth opens in shock. Harry reads Whistledown aloud to Portia, Albion, Prudence and Philippa. Portia asks if he must read aloud and Albion takes over. Penelope secretly listens from the hallway. Marcus tells Lady Danbury about Colin and Penelope's engagement and asks if she had a hand in it. She didn't, but she's pleased by the news. Marcus mentions that the city is entertaining. Lady Danbury says fresh gossip is better than fresh air. She reads something in a pamphlet that gives her pause. Queen Charlotte paces, upset at Francesca declining Lord Samedani's lemonade. She worries about how Lady Whistledown will describe it. Brimsley announces the new issue has arrived and she hasn't read it to her. He reads about Francesca's interest in John Sterling, which Lady Whistledown declares a fine match. Queen Charlotte is pleasantly surprised and smiles. Anthony and Kate are in a carriage, and Kate sees Anthony looking at her and jokes about him having pure thoughts. He's enjoying the view of his wife and the mother of his child. She rubs her belly as he says he's eager to tell the family. Kate and Anthony are welcomed by the family and Benedict comes in as they're hugging and Anthony asks where he was. Benedict lies, says he was out for a morning stroll, then asks Colin about the Whistledown news. Hyacinth announces that Colin is engaged to Penelope, surprising Anthony and Kate. Anthony is shocked and says the brothers have a lot to catch up on as they walk away. Eloise is ranting to Cressida, saying Penelope used her to get to Colin. She feels their friendship was just a ruse, and Cressida says it's good their friendship is over. Cressida has news too. Her parents are arranging a marriage with Lord Greer. Eloise asks if he's not old and ill, and Cressida says unfortunately not. He's quite old, but assures everyone he's healthy. Eloise says she wouldn't have carried on if she knew about Cressida's situation. Cressida is trying to look on the bright side, saying they could use Lord Greer's money to shop and dominate society like Lady Danbury. Eloise says that sounds like quite a life. Anthony hands out drinks and asks Colin to explain. Colin says he understands the concern, but he's known Penelope for a long time and perhaps he has always felt something for her. His only mistake was not realizing sooner. Anthony asks if Colin has told Penelope that, and Colin says the betrothal happened swiftly, and realizing what Colin is implying, Benedict asks if Anthony is going to duel him. Anthony says Colin seems to be marrying Penelope for the right reasons. He insists that Colin tell Penelope that, though that Colin leaves to do that after toasting the brothers. Penelope finds Portia staring out a window and Portia holds up the latest Whistledown, upset that she learned of her daughter's engagement from it. Penelope says she didn't feel like announcing the news to her. Portia thinks Penelope has thrown away a secure match with Lord Deblin to play out a fantasy. Penelope insists Colin cares for her. Portia asks if Colin has said he loves her, and Penelope admits he hasn't said exactly that. Portia reminds her of the Bridgertons treating them poorly after the Marina scandal. She thinks Penelope has trapped Colin. Just then, Mrs. Varley brings Colin in and he says Penelope didn't trap him and he proposed out of love. If Portia weren't so concerned with her own standing, she'll see that Penelope is the most eligible among them. He advises her not to tarnish their Bridgerton name by suggesting otherwise. Colin leads Penelope into a room. The property has been in the family for a long time and will be their home after they marry. It doesn't look like much now, but after decorating it will. Colin sees Penelope's worried expression and asks if she's concerned about being alone with him. Penelope thanks him for standing up to her mother, saying no one has ever done that for her. He says he'll always stand up for her because he loves her. She asks if he's sure and he says he is. Everything he said to her mother is true. He positions them in front of a mirror and tells her that she's the cleverest and bravest woman he knows. She makes him feel seen like never before. He removes the pins from her hair and compliments the way it falls and admires her body. He says that she must stop him if she doesn't want this. She says she does and they continue kissing. He undresses himself and joins her on the couch, telling her she's beautiful. She asks him to tell her what to do, but he says he'll take care of everything. She insists, so he says she could try to touch him. They have sex for the first time, and when they are done, Penelope asks if they can do it again, and Colin says to give him about 10 minutes. Kate and Anthony lie in bed, and Anthony kisses Kate's abdomen. After a few more kisses, Kate says they can't because Newton is watching. Kate wants it noted that she was right about it not being the right time to tell the family their news. With Colin's engagement and Francesca's courtship, Violet has her hands full. They can keep their secret a little longer. Anthony asks if that's the only reason and asks if she's happy. She says she's very happy and very busy. She gets up and says she has to throw the best betrothal party anyone has ever seen before they nominate someone else as Viscountess. Francesca tells John she's been playing pianoforte since she was 5, even though her fingers were too small to reach all the keys. Daphne had just begun her lessons and Francesca begged to join. She'll wake up at 6 in the morning on those days to practice. John asks Francesca about Anthony being home, and Francesca says he is, along with her new sister. They're perfect together, almost nauseatingly so, and John asks if she'll be opposed to marriage herself. Francesca says no, she wishes to be married. She just hopes her husband won't hide her stall. John says he wouldn't dream of it. Kate talks to Mrs. Wilson and 2 maids planning a party. She requests extra cinnamon biscuits because they're Gregory's favourites. When she notices Eloise in the room, she dismisses the maids to speak with her. Eloise compliments Kate's party planning, though Kate would rather be riding. Kate asks if Eloise is thinking about Penelope. Eloise admits that she is, and isn't surprised that Penelope kept a secret from her. Kate advises her to tell Colin how she feels, stressing that there is no better feeling than the truth. Eloise mentions that Gregory now prefers fruit jellies. Mrs. Varley finds Portia looking at herself in the mirror and asks if she's okay. Portia reflects on Colin's words about her focus on their social standing. Mrs. Varley suggests that Penelope will understand her mother's intentions. She advises Portia to explain her actions to Penelope and Colin and mentions that a connections to the Bridgertons would be beneficial. She also delivers a message from Dundas, who wants to see Portia again. Colin and Penelope cuddle on the couch and Penelope asks if she looks messy. He says she does, but she's his mess. She asks if she can read more of his writing as he promised. He says he doesn't break promises, and Penelope tells Colin that she has something to tell him, but they're interrupted by a knock at the door. Colin thinks it's the servants bringing his things. He suggests they take a carriage across the park to avoid being seen. Queen Charlotte welcomes Lady Danbury and mentions it's a momentous day. Lady Danbury asks what they're celebrating, and the Queen reveals it's the end of Lady Whistledown. She says the latest issue is weak and now is the time to strike. Lady Danbury asks about her plan, and the Queen reveals her royal messengers are distributing notices. Colin and Penelope see the royal messengers distributing memos. A messenger gives them one when Colin has the carriage stopped. Colin reads it and learns about the reward. He believes Lady Whistledown will be exposed now. He believes Lady Whistledown will be exposed soon. Colin asks Penelope what she was going to tell him, but she says it's not important now. Eloise sits with Colin and he apologizes for not telling her sooner about his feelings for Penelope. She stands up, upset that he went behind her back. He says that he's not sorry, but he loves Penelope. Eloise says she loved Penelope too and reminisces about their close friendship. Colin says Penelope will soon be her sister, which was once Eloise's greatest dream. He hopes for Eloise's blessing and shows her the Queen's offer. Cressida looks at the Queen's memo while Lady Cowper and Lord Greer discuss their marriage arrangement. Lord Greer outlines strict expectations for Cressida, who nods reluctantly. He also mentions he wants children, and Cressida glances back at the Queen's message. Philippa suggests checking the parish registry for Lady Whistledown's name, but Prudence doubts it will be that easy. Prudence teases Penelope about securing Colin, hinting she used a spell. Portia scolds them for teasing and reminds them that the Featheringtons support each other. Penelope questions if Portia was truly supporting her, and Portia admits she's been unkind but wants to start fresh with an engagement party. She and Penelope will attend alone, giving Prudence and Philippa time to reflect. Penelope excuses herself to read. Penelope writes the next Whistledown column criticizing her mother's ambitions and a queen's hunt for her identity. She taunts that some secrets can't be rushed. Nicky impresses his governess with his knowledge of table settings. Alice urges Will to take a break, emphasizing that his family needs him. At the party, Benedict praises Kate's efforts, and Gregory, wearing a top hat, says that he needs to present himself as an Eton man. Kate tells him to greet their guests, and the Mondrich family arrives, and Gregory offers to show Nicky his new bow and arrow. Portia and Penelope arrive at the party, and Portia criticizes the decorations. Colin greets Penelope and Portia apologizes to him, asking to put the past behind them. Colin agrees. Portia excuses herself to get a drink, and Colin and Penelope notice Eloise and Cressida. Colin explains Cressida invited herself, but Penelope assures him it's okay. Lady Danbury tells Violet that Penelope and Colin make a good match, and Marcus joins them. Lady Danbury didn't expect him, but Violet invited him after meeting him while promenading. Cressida confides in Eloise about her dislike for Lord Greer and her plan to avoid marrying him. Eloise confronts Penelope, urging her to tell Colin the truth before someone else does. She gives Penelope until midnight to tell him, or she will herself. Kate greets Tilly and Benedict, and Francesca introduces John to Anthony, Violet, and Lady Danbury. Colin makes a speech about meeting Penelope and looks forward to their future. Eloise toasts to them knowing each other truly, hinting at Penelope's secret. Penelope looks at the clock, which reads 9:32. Portia reads to Penelope and Colin, and Kate suggests dessert and charades. During charades, Eloise and Penelope dominate the game, which Benedict hopes will settle their differences. Will finally answers a puzzle correctly, and Portia answers the next one. Eloise and Cressida move away from the group. Cressida shares her plan to avoid marriage by identifying Lady Whistledown. Eloise doubts she can, but Cressida is determined. Benedict reads the next puzzle until he guesses nameless, leading Colin to comment that Lady Whistledown won't remain nameless for long. Penelope excuses herself at 11:47 and Colin follows her. Kate and Anthony decide to share their news. They kiss, ready for the changes ahead. Penelope hides in an empty room, and Marcus and Portia discuss the reward and Lady Whistledown's potential reaction. Colin searches for Penelope, and Portia thinks Whistledown might enjoy the fame and freedom. Colin searches for Penelope, and she returns to the party just before midnight. Colin finds her, and she admits she needs to tell him something. Eloise interrupts, needing to tell Colin something urgent. Colin asks Eloise to get a servant for a cool towel after seeing Penelope in distress. Anthony and Kate share their news with Violet and Lady Danbury, who celebrate with them. As Anthony and Kate prepare to announce their news to everyone, Cressida suddenly declares she's Lady Whistledown. Penelope faints and everyone rushes to help her. That's it for the Bridgerton recap. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next recap.